What's going on, everybody? So now I'm back for episodes 5 and 6 of Velma. This is probably going to be a lot longer than the last one I did because I had done that one when 5 and 6 were already out. So I just kind of wanted to just give my brief notes on 3 and 4 before continuing on with 5 and 6. I do have a little list pulled up here of kind of notes what happened throughout both episodes, so I kind of can cover everything. I know last one I didn't cover everything, but this one I wanted to cover a lot, if only because I have very strong feelings about these two episodes in particular. So let's go ahead and jump into episode 5. So this one was interesting because we get to see Daphne kind of meeting her old parents, and when she first met them, I kind of thought that they were going to do like a switcheroo. Like, you ever seen those old cartoons where, oh, you met your parents, like kind of like that episode of SpongeBob where we met Patrick's parents, and then at the end of the episode we found out that those weren't his real parents after all. I kind of thought it was going to be that kind of a story. Like, we meet these two that pretend to be her parents, and then it's revealed later on that, oh, no, that it was a confusion. That's actually not her parents, it's somebody else, or, wherever the case is. But that wasn't what happened. That is their parents. And there are these people who used to work at this theme park that are based off of the old Hanna-Barbera characters. And they are basically turned to a life of crime. It was kind of dumb, but basically they would use the sewer system to go and I thought that was kind of dumb. But I mean, hey, that's what that was. Let's see here. But yeah, she was apparently abandoned as a baby. She was abandoned as a baby, and her two moms found her. And at first, the agenda was being pushed that they took her, but it was that they found her and they rescued her. I'm indifferent on that. To me, it doesn't really matter. I mean, that's just that's what happened. Let's see. Fred tries different tactics to make Velma like him. And then they're talking about Dr. Edna Perdue, who was the mother of Norville's mother, so Norville's grandmother. But she was just a neurologist that was perhaps was seeing Velma's mom, but it didn't add up, and then she ended up dying in the Crystal Cove Insane Asylum. So it kind of was a lead that went nowhere. Now, this is where I'm most heated in terms of the Velma show and the Velma character is, okay, so Norville kind of gives up on Velma. Like, so for the past couple episodes, since the beginning, Norville always had a crush on Velma and wanted to be with Velma no matter what. But kind of realized that she wasn't a great person, that she was very toxic for him, and that it just wasn't a good relationship. It just wasn't a good friendship, right? And it was even admitted by her that she was like, yeah, all I do is he complains to me and I never pay attention to him. I never talk to him about his problems. I never talk to him about anything involving him. I literally only want him so that he can help me with my hallucinations and so that he can help me with the case of my mom, right? Very selfish, right? But she has a revelation when she sees that Norville is now stepping away from her and is now going to his new girlfriend, this girl named Gigi. And she has this moment where she wants to separate them. Like, she has this whole arc and this scheme planned. No, I have to get Norville back. I need to separate them. She has this revelation, right? But when that happens, you're starting to think like, oh, she finally is realizing that she was treating him poorly. She finally was realizing that she didn't know what she had until it was gone. She finally realized, like, now that she saw him with somebody else, maybe it ignited feelings within her of like, oh, now maybe I have feelings for Norville, right? None of that. None of that at all. It was literally just, no, I need him back because of my visions, my hallucinations that I'm having, and I need him back because of the case of my mom, and I need his help. It was nothing about her redeeming herself as a person and being a better friend and realizing that she was doing wrong. It was none of that. And while I'm not going to go to the lengths that some other people will go when talking about this show, I will say that Velma, since the beginning, has always been a very unlikable character. So much so to the point where I might even do a separate video on this. It almost feels like Velma is basically like Meg from Family Guy if Meg had her own spinoff show. Just this unlikable character that's unlikable, and everybody says she's unlikable and nobody likes her, but at least Meg gets her comeuppance, you know? Meg will, you know, and she's not the center of attention all the time, you know? And there's moments where you actually feel sorry for Meg, right? Some of the stuff that gets done to her is not right. Velma in this show is just a horrible person who has no excuse for being a horrible person. So that's my opinion on that. Like the fact that she wanted to separate Norville and Gigi, like when they were happy together, just for her own selfish motives, when she claims to be his friend, is terrible. Anyways, okay. So then there's more back and forth between Velma and Daphne about their feelings and about all this stuff. Well, these nerds from this band end up having a sleepover at Velma's so that Velma... It's all part of her plan to try to separate Norville and Gigi. Well, what's interesting is I love how they love to kind of... This show has been trying to go against social norms for a lot of people, right? Like... certain stereotypes they have purposefully been trying to go away from, which I welcome. I think that's great. I think we should try to stray away from stereotypes. But how come the band kids are just the same band kids stereotype? Like, I don't understand. If you're trying to go away from stereotypes, like, that's great. Go away from all the stereotypes. Like, why would you go away from some stereotypes, but other stereotypes it's okay to make fun of? Like the band kids in this episode, they literally couldn't go like an afternoon without taking their medicine, you know? They had to take their meds in between meals, right? Because that's, you know, a lot of kids that suffer with a lot of stuff that they have to take care of, you know? And I guess they couldn't eat, so they ended up turning into ravagous animals that they had to go and get food for to... I thought that was just a little ridiculous. Like, it could have been funny. It would have been funny if the entire show didn't spend all of its time trying to divert itself away from stereotypes, only to then spend a majority of an episode insulting a stereotype. I just felt like, I don't know, like this show has stuff in it that could be funny if it wasn't trying to be something else. So they end up having a flute off. I guess Gigi was a flute player also, same with Velma. Well, they have a flute off to see who's gonna you know, have Norville, and of course Gigi wins because Velma is not a good character. She can't really do anything right. So Gigi wins, but she agrees to have Norville help her out anyway. So this is when they start ripping their house apart. And she ends up... Velma does have one redeeming moment in this, and it's when she kind of sacrifices herself for Norville in terms of the police. But it's like, it's not that big of a punishment or anything anyway. She just ended up in jail for one night, and it wasn't even like off of a strict thing. It was just there was a very hard curfew policy in place, and she just was outside after dark, so they took her into jail overnight, and they let her out in the morning. It was nothing serious. As far as I know, there was no fee. It was just a curfew thing. Like, it wasn't serious. So the fact that she, quote-unquote, sacrificed herself for Norville for that was a little dumb. Like, it wasn't that much of something to be afraid of. And so that's pretty much it for episode 5, all the points I really wanted to talk about. So now to go into episode 6, this one had a lot more crossovers with old Hanna-Barbera characters in it. Like, a lot of the characters are in costume as, you know, the Jetsons, or there's a shout out to the Flintstones, and lots of stuff in both of these episodes, but a lot of it in this one also. So what I find interesting here is they end up going and using one of General Harry Meeting. Well, General Harry, it's by Meddling Kids. Oh, that's right. So they have this special covert operations brain initiative that Harry Meeting was using, and it was called Scooby, right? and it was something that the Dr. Edna Purdue was also working on. Funny, it's called Scooby, right? And they have this funny joke, and I guess let me call it quote unquote funny joke, where Velma is questioning Scooby, like what is it? And she asks, "What does Scooby do?" Like that was the show's not very funny, but I thought that was stupid. But anyways, Velma wonders if there's a connection between Edda's research, the other. Oh yeah, and then they have kind of like the principal, who is Norville, Norville's father. Let's see. Every time Principal tries to talk about the... Oh, yeah, that's right. Every time they try to talk to Velma, her hallucinations keep preventing her from what she's trying to say. And basically all he's trying to tell her is... Because he's the psychiatrist, the therapist also. Basically what he's telling her is she needs to kind of tell her father, and her father she needs to know that her father believes her, that her mother was kidnapped. It's basically just like a therapy session mental thing. Like, the reason why she's been having a lot of these is because she doesn't have that great of a connection with her father. So them having that reassurance and that moment together, them like him knowing or her knowing that he believes her is what's causing her to have those hallucinations. So they keep trying to look for a cure, which is that, basically. And let's see. Meanwhile, Fred finally changed something. Hates that Fred as I try to develop his way back. Oh, that's right. So Fred's father is also kind of very much so in this episode because he finds out that Fred has feelings for Velma ever since episode 3 and 4. And he's trying everything he can to turn Fred back into the guy he used to be, only caring about women that are sexually attractive, these kinds of things. So he's doing dumb stuff, and every time he tries to get around Velma, his dad's always trying to get him out of there and get him out of the way, and whatever the case is. She tells Velma that Fred's birthday. Oh, that's right. So Daphne's birth parents tell her their plan to sell their haul of crystals and move to Angola. So while they're inside this room, kind of trying to find out where, like, clues on Velma's mom's disappearance and stuff like that, they end up finding this note card on the ground that says Jinkies. And that's when her father's name, or her father finally believes that she went missing. Because he looked at the card and said, "Oh my God, this is in your mother's handwriting." He said she had to have been, been kidnapped. Like she was just here. He even looks at the card. He goes, "This was fresh." Right? And then we see Daphne's mother kind of making a break for it out of the mines. And she finds a necklace that's out there. But someone approaches her from the back and ends up raising a knife to her. And then that's kind of where the episode ends. So we do have a bit of a cliffhanger for the next set of episodes. But I don't know. At first I was intrigued to see where the mystery's going. But after this set of episodes, I kind of was a little let down just a little bit. If only because it's kind of lost its excitement. Just for the story part. And the characters, like I said, are just too unlikable for you to pay much attention to the story. It's really hard to make yourself get excited when the characters that are in the show are just very unlikable. But anyways, guys, that's my opinions on this episode. Let me go ahead and sound off down below. What did you guys think of the episode? What do you guys think about everything that's going on? And what are your thoughts on the characters? Let me know in your comments down below. And like always, I'll catch you guys in the next video.